So, you want to start a micronation, do you? You've got your flag, you've got your land, you may even have your citizens. You think you've got it all figured out, don't you? But there's one thing you have to ask yourself before you get started. What kind of micronation are you? Hey everybody, as always, it is Emperor AP here, and today we are going to be talking about the two different types of micronations that I've seen in my personal experience. Now, of course, what a micronation is and how it develops and how it runs is of course a spectrum, but there are two extremes to it. From what I've seen, the two types of micronations are the realist micronation and what I call the fantastic micronation. So both of these are equal and respected in their own right. They're just very different, and their goals, their motivations, what creates them, what defines them are very inherently different. So in this video we're going to talk about that and figure out where you lie on the two. So for our starting off, the most common type of micronation, the easiest to establish, and the most pronounced is the fantastical micronation.
Products. So around the fourth show of My Little Pony, she was set as executive producer to make the show with the story, to have the stories have to be complex and, actually interesting. Let's move on to the plot. In the magical land of Equestria, Pegasus and Unicorn alike roam amongst the world. Equestria is ruled by two princesses named Celestia and Luna. Celestia controlled the day, while Luna controlled the night. The Luna soon turns to the dark side.
Now, the fantastical micronation is a type of nation that is, as the name says, fantastical. Its design, its elements, its citizenry, everything that is about it is in some form or fashion fictitious. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't have real land, that doesn't mean that it can't have real citizens, that doesn't mean that it can't do real things, but that for the most part, things like titles, things like its money, things like what it does, don't have tangible real-world values. Their goals, their alignments, their, say, territory claims, for example, aren't necessarily true to real life. They aren't something that they can claim independently. So, for example, a lot of people will say something like, my micronation claims half of North America, or my micronation claims the entire Earth, or my micronation claims Antarctica, or my micronation claims the ocean, or my micronation claims the sky, or something like that, or space, or the moon, or something like that. When you have a micronation that is designed and created under the idea of giving title, giving privilege, having this assumed right over something without actually seeking to gain validation for that and seeking to create something that's established and recognized by others, then you're leaning more toward a fantastical micronation or a fantastic micronation. And that's not a problem at all. They're very creative, they're very exciting projects, and they're some of the most interesting micronations to follow because they do things like have their own like proxy concept wars. They have things like these large councils. They have like UN style congresses with other micronations, which I'd like to speak on more in a minute, but they're generally the types of micronations that you'll see come in with having multiple different allies that are more for stage, more for the declaration of friendship to show their interest in their activity in the community than really being a part of something that is impactful, being something that goes out and accomplishes goals or spends money on things. A lot of the time you'll see these micronations started by younger people, but not necessarily. It just depends on someone's goals and their drive and how much they're trying to do with it and where they're trying to put their efforts. On the other end of the spectrum, we have the realist micronations.
Wait, what are you thinking of again?
Memes, jailbreaking, a little bit of hiding, 3 unhacking, 4 HTML faking my grade.
Wow, that's cool.
Now, these are considered, unfortunately, some of the more boring micronations, but that's not necessarily all true. It depends on how you do it, and it depends on why you do it. The realist micronations have the most interesting job, in my opinion, because they're trying to create a real nation. They're people who say, hey, we can't take land that's not ours. We can't give these fantastical descriptions of how much money we have or of what we're doing if it's not true to real life, if it's not factual, if it's not something that we can back up and defend, because we want all of our goals, all of our efforts to be planted in reality. So a big part of that is things like starting businesses to form an economy, which we've talked about in previous videos, doing things like creating a population and sticking to the specific descriptors of that micronational citizenry. So another thing that is a big difference is those citizenry counts. For fantastic micronations, they'll say, we have citizens, we have 1 million citizens, we have 1 billion citizens, but realist micronations, unless they do have 1 billion citizens, which would be insane, they wouldn't be a micronation, generally stick to what their actual numbers are. So people that they constantly have routinely working in the micronation, developing things for the micronation, and claiming themselves as citizens. As well, those things sort of continue off into, like we said, land, money, titles. Titles are very important, because if you have somebody that you give a title to in a micronation, but other people don't recognize them, if you can give yourself your title, things like that, that's not necessarily a realist perspective. That's not a perspective that is grounded in reality. It doesn't have much effect. So again, that kind of goes into fantastic micronations, but if you can give reason and claim behind the creation of titles for people in your citizenry, more toward the realist side. So to sort of give more of an in-depth analysis to this, what I'm planning to do is to break down what types of micronations are realist micronations, what micronations are fictitious or fantastical, based on micronations we all know and love. So if that's something that you are interested in, please follow along. Please keep up with me as I continue to try my own and decide for yourself. Are you a realist micronation or are you a fantastic one? And as always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.